Because of why I search the deep through endless nights, no time to sleep. The call inside I can't deny. I'll find the light because of why.
Hey everyone, and welcome. So today we're going to tackle a question that you see all over the internet. Are houses in Sweden really as cheap as they seem? You know the feeling. You're scrolling through property sites and you see these gorgeous, traditional-looking country homes for prices that honestly feel like a typo. They seem way too good to be true. And you're not alone. This comment from a user on Reddit pretty much sums up the shock that a lot of people feel. But, as you've probably guessed, the real story here is, well, it's a lot more complicated. Because here's the thing, when we talk about the Swedish housing market, we're not just talking about one market. We're actually talking about two completely different worlds. In the big cities, like Stockholm, you've got a classic housing bubble with absolutely sky-high prices. But then you have the countryside, where that dream of finding a cheap house is very, very real. It just comes with some serious strings attached. This map really illustrates that divide perfectly. You can see those light-colored areas. Those are the big urban centers, like Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö. And then look at all that dark blue. That's the vast, more rural land that covers most of the country. And these two zones are playing by completely different rules. Okay, so let's dive into this. First up, let's talk about the cities, because this is where the whole idea of cheap housing just completely falls apart. A quick look at the numbers shows you everything you need to know. Major city prices are anything but cheap. An average house in Stockholm is going to set you back around 7 million Swedish kroner. The price per square meter for an apartment, nearly 10,000 euros. We're talking prices comparable to any other major European capital. So how on earth did it get this way? Well, experts like Brett Christophers argue that this isn't some recent accident. He says it's the result of decades of policy decisions that basically poured fuel on the fire. You see, it was kind of the perfect storm. Sweden still has these really generous tax deductions on mortgage interest, something many other countries got rid of ages ago. You add that to a totally broken rental system in the cities with insane waiting lists, which just forces more people to try and buy. And then, for 20 years, you had rock-bottom interest rates that made borrowing money feel almost free. And all of this led to Swedes taking on a massive amount of debt. By 2023, the average household debt was 181% of their disposable income. That's one of the highest levels in all of Europe. The situation got so risky that even the former head of Sweden's central bank, Stefan Ingves, warned for years that his job felt like sitting on top of a volcano. And in 2022, well, that volcano started to rumble. Okay, let's switch gears and move to the other side of the story. The countryside. This is where those unbelievably cheap houses actually exist. So what's the catch?
The price is low because demand is low. It's that simple. And why is demand so low? Well, it really boils down to a few things. A lack of jobs, which means you're looking at really long commutes. You might be an hour's drive from the nearest hospital or even a decent grocery store. On top of that, a lot of these cheap houses need huge, expensive repairs, and the infrastructure, like your internet connection, can be really unreliable. And as this one Reddit user so perfectly put it, even if the house itself is cheap, the cost of that car-dependent lifestyle can be a huge shock, especially when you're paying European gas prices.
So, where does all this leave the market today? Well, with central banks raising interest rates to fight inflation, that volcano in the urban markets we talked about, it's finally starting to erupt. The whole market has just slammed on the brakes. Sellers are suddenly finding themselves in a total nightmare. For 2 decades, prices only ever went up. Now, the music has completely stopped. This user's experience is now incredibly common. People schedule 5 viewings and maybe 1 person shows up, total. And this has created a huge domino effect. Buyers are hesitant because the economy is so uncertain. And since many of them can't sell their own place, they can't afford to buy a new one, even if they wanted to. This comment just captures the buyer's side of it perfectly. People are simply too nervous about the economy and the high cost of borrowing to make the biggest purchase of their lives. The result? Total gridlock. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? The story of Swedish housing isn't really about cheap houses at all. It's about a fundamental split between an overvalued, debt-fueled urban market that's now in turmoil and a depopulating rural one where those low prices really just reflect a lack of opportunity. And this whole situation leaves us with a much bigger question. As other countries grapple with their own problems of housing affordability and household debt, is what's happening in Sweden a unique case? Or is it maybe a glimpse into a future that others might face too?
We would love to hear what you think. Let us know down in the comments. And if you found this explainer useful, don't forget to hit like, share, and of course, subscribe for more deep dives just like this one. Thanks for watching.